We will talk today about kind of like how I started my journey. Why I think this is important, because you will understand that the experiences that you have at the beginning of your life might shape where you want to go. So in my case, for example, when I was in high school, I wanted to make some businesses. I didn't know how. So I started with something related to technology in one end, and in the other end, something not so much related to that. Let's start with the first one. At the beginning, having music or playing music was not as easy as it's today, like where you have a Spotify and all these platforms. Before, you either have your CD or your DVDs, and that was the way that you were like listening music with a Discman. So I saw an opportunity. Why? Because even at the beginning of my journey, the MP3 was not so much used on CDs. So what I did is kind of like transform the MP3 to WAP, which was the format that everybody can play. So in a nutshell, what I did, I created a library where I had a library of a lot of music that I put on a catalog. So that way I can tell everybody, hey, what type of music do you like for your own mix? Kind of like the playlist that you do today on Spotify, but I was doing it in a CD. So that process, it was non-existent at the moment. Not many people in Peru, where I was going to high school, had the CD burner. That was the tool that you use. So I was charging between $15 to $25 per CD. Just picture this, I was in 8th or 9th grade at high school. So I was really young and I was able to do that. That catalog that I had was running all over my high school friends among that. So I was burning probably like 20 CDs a week. For a kid like me, was, wow, I'm making money. That's where I understand some concept of like cost, inventory, production, process, quality. Just because even when you were transforming music, you need to be very careful that the music was okay, because MP3 not always was perfect, especially with that. And I know that this might sound good. In Peru, that was a little bit of illegal. I was young, so I didn't understood, but it shaped me and gave me some cash for like keep learning about technologies and coding. So that was my first experience. The second one was more related to books. In Peru, the photocopies, it's kind of like, sometimes you use it a lot. It's not the best way to use it, but in some courses they were asking you for books and the books were scared. So I was making photocopies of that book that I got and I was selling the copies. Again, nothing fancy, but allowed me to get into the grasp of concepts of cost, how to sell, marketing, and getting some clients and customer service. We will talk more about those topics in the different modules of this course, but that's how I started, because in some cases I understood like, okay, how many I need to sell in order to break even, how much money I want to make, so how many sales I need to do. Also, the other thing that I had on my background that helped me was that my dad is an engineer, an electronic engineer, so in order to stop bugging him, he gave me a book, See by Example. I remember the book that he gave me. And I was able to learn a lot of coding just reading that book, which opens me the door to this beautiful world of technology. I was lucky that I had a very old computer, I think a 386 with 2 megabytes of RAM. But with that book and that computer, I was able to start like trying to do games. I like any kid at the beginning. Later in my journey, I went to a university. I didn't like the university that much, but I tried to get as much as possible from the university. So I joined the work and travel program. I was in Peru at that moment. So I was looking to expand my English, improve my sales skills and many other things, and also make money at the same time. So I can start doing some startups or experiments. And that was done in Wisconsin Dells. Why? I chose Wisconsin Dells because I was looking for a place where I can learn English, I can develop my skills, and I'm not forced to speak Spanish at any moment. And also the pay was better because it was really freezing cold. So that was a very good experience for many reasons. The first one, because I was able to get a social security number that later I was able to use to incorporate my companies in an easy way, and also allows me to have credit in the US. So we can discuss that about later, but it was great. That was kind of like the foundation of the business that I created later. Now, going about culture, that also opened me the eyes to a different way of working. Why? Because I started there as a busser, waiter, and then I moved up into the same company, but I was able to understand like how a company works. I know it's a restaurant and people might say why restaurants matter to technology. At the end, everything is people. So I was able to understand the culture, the value that they have as a restaurant. This was a huge restaurant, 4 floors. They were selling at that moment, I think $5 million on revenue, and this was in Wisconsin. So, but I was able to be close to the CEO of the company. So that helped me a lot to shape like the way that he was treating people, the way that he was managing the company. And it was a great experience from the beginning. Later, I will explain kind of like the experiments that I did on myself at Wisconsin, but it was good. Last but not least, I was lucky enough that my dad teaches at National University of Engineering in Peru, and I was, I think, 14 or 15 years old. So I was spending a couple of months over there a year. I was lucky that I was learning about databases, coding, among many other things that allow me to add this kind of like mix of like, now I know some sales, now I know some coding, now I know some businesses that later helped me to build startups. Of course, I failed at the beginning, but I was lucky enough that I was able to make it happen eventually.